And I want to welcome everyone to the Vortex Energy Podcast, where we interview interesting people who have a message to help others awaken and reach their ultimate health and spiritual goals. Today, we're really thrilled to have Rick Galt with us today. And first, I want to acknowledge our sponsor, peaceandharmonydownload.com, because to enjoy fewer family squabbles and more harmony at work, visit peaceandharmonydownload.com to generate your own pocket of peace around you and be a true peace hero, just like we are here at Vortex Energy Podcast. So that is actually playing in the background that will benefit everyone as you listen to this podcast, actually. So to give you a little background, I actually only met Rick in person when I was at a conference in San Diego a few weeks ago, but we've been working on a project together for a few months now. And Rick's an all-around good guy. He is a holistic life coach who works with individuals who want to grow spiritually and integrate the spiritual practice with their existing way of life and or business. Rick has had spiritual experiences since childhood. As a result, he was always looking for ways to explore and understand his inner life. He graduated with a degree in psychology and ended up teaching meditation for 10 years before starting a successful 30-year business career as an executive in a series of firms consulting to the government. Rick is now pursuing a coaching career to help others on their spiritual path. He also currently supports the programs of his friend David Adelson, a respected healer and inventor of spiritual programs such as Peace and Harmony and Forever in Flow. So welcome, David. Welcome, Rick. You're not David.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barbara.
We have actually had David on the show a couple times, so most of our audience is familiar with David and his work. Yeah. So how did this all come about? Tell us your first spiritual encounter. You said it started at a very early age.
When I was 4 years old, we lived on a farm. I was lying in bed waiting for sleep to come, and I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, my eyes were closed, and the room just went away, and the ceiling went away, and I was floating in this infinite universe. As a 4-year-old, I didn't know it was a spiritual experience. I just thought it was, wow, this is really cool. And the next couple of nights, I tried to get it back, not understanding at that young age that the more I tried, the less it was going to do, because it had to be innocently experienced. You have to let go. You can't hold on. So that started the whole thing, and that started this kind of lifelong desire to get that experience back. That probably had more impact on my life than a lot of things that most people would consider to be very serious in their lives. When I was a teenager, I used to lie in my backyard in the sun or lie on a couch and listen to music. The reason being not so much to get sunlight, but because I would have a similar experience that I would close my eyes and my body would just drift away and I would just be floating inside my mind in this really nice, blissful experience. And I got to where I could almost always have that experience, but not all the time. Eventually led through the 60s and the psychedelic era and all that, and I won't talk about that because that's something that's not very indirect.
I disagree with you, Rick. I'd love to go there.
Okay. When I was in college, I was a psych major. I was more interested in what was going on inside than what was going on outside.
Yeah. And
towards the end of my college days, I started getting involved in the psychedelic era, and I tried some things, one of which was acid. And I had this very, very profound experience that cognition, whatever you want to call it, that first of all, what I was doing wasn't good for me. It was going to damage my body if I continued it, and I'd probably already done some damage. But the second thing, which was even more powerful, was that whatever experience I was having, I could produce myself consciously. I could create the chemicals in my body that I needed to produce any experience I wanted. I just had to find a natural way to do it. And there was a natural way to do it. And I saw the wheel of karma, the cycle of life and death. I mean, I went through all kinds of interesting things in that night.
Was this on that first experience, or this is after multiple
This is maybe second or third time. I had a friend who had some connections and, whatever. Anyway, the experience was very, very profound, left me very, very settled and calm and confident in myself for weeks afterwards that I needed to find a natural way to expand my mind and explore my consciousness. When I had been in something I forgot about a long time ago, when I was in church school in high school, I asked one of my church fathers who was teaching the catechism class, what's the difference between a rock and a brain? Well, I really wasn't asking him that question. What I was really asking him was, what is life? What makes me alive, as opposed to a rock, which is just, it's an inert thing there. The brain and the rock, both, you can make a rock look just like a brain physically, but there's a difference there. He couldn't give me an answer. Nobody could. And so I went, at this point now going forward again, I went forward looking for meditation, spiritual teachers, somebody that could tell me what was going on and what experiences I was having. And I was very lucky through a friend of mine to get introduced to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and Transcendental Meditation. And I went to the first lecture. My first meditation was just that same experience of just going deep within, settling down to a very quiet level and feeling the mind expand and the world just sort of fading away. And that's not to say that that happens all the time, because meditation experiences are very subjective and can change all the time. So I don't want to give people the impression that that's going to happen every day you sit to meditate. But the teaching that Maharishi proposed answered all the questions I had and so much more, and left me with a desire to even more strongly to grow inside, to reach as high a level of enlightenment as I could in this lifetime.
Yeah,
I became a
that's
teacher.
awesome.
I taught TM, as you said in my bio, and that's kind of how it all got started. I met David through TM. He was a TM teacher also.
Mm.
And
So how did you integrate that TM and all of this spiritual experiences into your daily life at that time? How did that impact
well, it
your
was
work
really
and
easy.
your daily life?
Yeah, it was really easy because the TM program, as taught then and still is taught, is 20 minutes twice a day. You sit down, you meditate for 20 minutes, you get up, you go into your activity. It was designed for people who are active in life.
Yeah.
Because people, there are kind of two schools of thought. There's the ascetic, mystic recluse who goes off in a cave somewhere and spends 20 years meditating and then comes out enlightened, but kind of ignores the rest of society. But most of us are not like that. We're householders, we're business people, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're teachers, we're parents, we're children. And so we can't take our whole day to sit in meditation. How are we gonna make any money? We'd go broke, we'd starve. So Maharishi teaching was so profound because it said you don't have to spend all your day in meditation, just twice a day, 20 minutes, and that's enough. And over time, what happens very briefly is the silence you gain in meditation, every time you come out of meditation, some of that comes with you into activity. Over time, more and more comes into activity, so you find yourself experiencing inner silence, inner unboundedness, even when you're running around jogging or doing your business, whatever. So that's how it integrated into my life. It became just a part of everything I did.
Because I think that is such a really amazing distinction that so few people really understand. It isn't, oh, you go live on a mountaintop and you never speak to anybody and you sit in silence for forever, or you're involved in the world. There can be, yeah, you can be aware and awake and conscious and go about your daily life and have a business and make money and support your family and. So it's not either or, it's always and.
Right. In Vedic India, this was called Raja Yoga, which is the royal yoga, because it was the yoga means unionist, union of the inner and outer life. Royal yoga meant it was for princes and princesses and kings who had busy lives. They couldn't afford to go live in a cave. Their kingdom would fall apart. And so they had to have something that would work for busy people, for active people. And that's what this is. It's very easy. But it does,
That's awesome.
but it carried me into where I am today, wanting to, after 30 years in business and realizing that I really wasn't that happy. I was making really good money, but I wasn't doing something that was socially that beneficial for the world. And we lost our contracts, and we're in the process of closing down that business, left me without a nice substantial income, but gave me the free time to pursue what I started with back in my early age, to continue with my own development and at this point in my life to try and help other people who may have a similar experience. I think there are many young people who've had deeply spiritual experiences but don't understand what they are or the value of those experiences. And I think we need to do whatever we can to help other people come along too.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. What's happening for you now with this spiritual quest that you're on and a desire to help other people?
Well, it kind of started, I've been working with David Adelson for several years now. Very gifted healer and spiritual guide, I'd say, coach. I continue to meditate every day. And I started with David, not so much for a spiritual reason, but for a health reason. One of my friends recommended him as being someone who could help me with a health problem I had. Doctors don't always know everything. We know that. I had something called restless leg syndrome, which was very uncomfortable sensations in the body coming at odd times that disrupt sleep, disrupt your entire life. It's estimates that 10% of the population has this syndrome. Very uncomfortable and very disruptive. And I sought David out to try and help me solve that. I've been working with him for about 3 years. It has almost gone away. I'm off all the medications the doctors gave me. And I see a time when I will be free of that. And doctors have no cures. So that's what got me started working with David. At the same time, the healing and things that I was going through with him were uncovering blocks, releasing blocks of life patterns and things that maybe at one time in my life were good for me, but are no longer useful and now disruptive, opening up my mind more, opening my awareness more, even more than it had been with meditation. And so I realized that somewhere in that process that, first of all, I needed to make a living because my old job kind of went away as a government contractor. I didn't want to go back to that. I thought, well, maybe I can do it as a coach. So I've started looking at different organizations that can help me learn how to do coaching, putting myself out there, which is very kind of alien to me. I've always been kind of a quiet person. So becoming visible is something very new to me. And I'm doing things to try and help me put me in a position where I can help other people more. Does that answer?
That's great.
Answer the question?
Yeah, briefly. So, but you have something special you'd like to share with the audience, correct?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And so, what is that? Tell us a little bit more about that. Yeah.
Okay. In addition to my own coaching practice, I've also been helping David with one of his programs called Forever in Flow. And this is a very interesting program because it helps a person become more aligned within themselves. All the different aspects of their life become aligned with each other and with our true purpose. And in so doing, we gain access to the full resources of nature to support us. Now that sounds really nice and lofty and everything, but what does it mean practically speaking? What it means is that life becomes more effortless. As an example, one of the people in our program started within a month, had 3 brand new customers through no additional effort on her part that I'm aware of. It just started the program and things just happened. One of my first clients in the program, because I'm a guide as well as I'm in the program, an example of things just working out and being synchronous. She had 2 meetings one day with 2 customers, and she went to the first meeting. The second meeting, she had a choice. She could go to the second customer's home and sit there and wait for an hour, or she could go to her house and do some stuff for a couple of minutes and then go on. She decided she was just going to go and wait. And so she gets halfway there. She gets a call from the second customer and says, my gosh, we had a schedule changed. Can you please come an hour early? And she was already on her way. If she'd gone home, she wouldn't have been able to do that. That's the kind of thing that happens when your life is in flow. I was talking to someone just a little earlier about one evening I went out to get dinner for a friend who was visiting, and it was pouring down rain. I pulled out of the garage in my car, drove in the rain to the restaurant. As soon as I got to the restaurant, the rain stopped. Went into the restaurant, picked up our food, came back out again. As soon as I got back in the car, it started pouring rain again. Now, you can say that's such a simple thing, but life is made up of simple events. And my life has become, since I've been in this program, more like that all the time. Just I meet the people I need to meet. I wanted to take some courses to improve my ability to become visible. And suddenly I got this deluge of emails from people about that very thing. The day before, I had no emails from any of these people. I picked two, and they just happened to be people that were perfectly suited to my personality and my needs. My life has become a flow, and the people I know in the program has become much more like that. The reason is that the program involves both some coaching, some guiding, some discussion, but underneath of that, there is an underlying technology of science, of frequency and vibration that heals the body while you're in the program. There's 24/7 healing that goes on in the background in this program.
Yeah.
And that heals all the blocks to your forward growth. Very powerful program.
That's excellent. So how do people, I believe you've got something that you can share with our audience for something free for them to play. Is that right?
There is, yes. We have I wish I could put it online, but I'll just say it. If you go to foreverinflow.com/alignment, it will take you to the alignment background program that you can play.
Perfect. So I'm going to link that in the messages below. So just click that link below here, and that's a free alignment, attunement, or what are you calling it exactly?
It's a free alignment program. It's the interesting thing about these programs is they're completely silent to the human ear. They use high frequency energies, but there's something going on in the background. You can play it 24/7. You can download these programs, but if not, you can also stream them from the internet. I do that with my phone, on my phone. You can play it all the time if you want. Nothing can hurt you. It can only help your life. And people won't even hear it around you because it's perfectly silent, but it will still have an impact on you.
So it's really funny because I've shown the Peace and Harmony download program to a number of people. And again, they're one of our sponsors here today. I use it everywhere. And it's unusual when people say, well, what do I do with the sound? It doesn't matter if the sound's off. Well, it does matter if the sound's off, because even though it is silent to our ears, you want to put your sound on the maximum amount that you can to broadcast from whatever device, if it's a phone or a laptop or an old phone is actually the easiest to play these things and to keep them streaming and charged, so it's not stopped when you answer a phone call or play some other video.
You can also play it on a PC. In case of the Peace and Harmony program, the area around you is like maybe 5 to 10 feet on your phone. On a PC, it may be 15 to 20 feet area around. Just negativity can't enter it. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think particularly in these days, we've been talking about it with everyone kind of cloistered at home now, whether they want to be or not. And those types of little conflicts that arise under normal circumstances with everybody a little bit stressed right now. I think all of that type of alignment is especially important, and particularly for all the business owners who are struggling at the moment, trying to figure out what to do. This is something you can actively do, is planning your future. And even though there are so many unknowns at this moment, you can start visualizing all the good things that can come from this extra quiet time that you've had home alone or home with your significant family and friends.
Just playing the alignment program. Imagine what your life would be like if you could always be in the right place at the right time to meet the people that could help you the most, or the resources you need to accomplish your goals just turned up at the right time all the time, just when you need them. That's what being in alignment is like. What happens is that nature begins to work for you behind the scenes, orchestrating all the resources you need, including maybe be people or things or schedules or whatever, almost effortlessly on your part, so that what you need to meet your goals, to get to where you want to go, happens as effortlessly as possible.
So what about does this mean that someone will automatically get everything that they wish for? It's like a little magic wish pond,
Well, that's a very interesting question, because it doesn't mean that everything you ask for is automatically going to come to you. What it means is you will get what you need to accomplish what your goal is.
Very important distinction.
And here's
for
an
people to
example.
understand,
Here's
for
an
the audience
example.
to understand.
And here's an example of why you don't want to get everything you want to have happen. First thought, I'm going to be in alignment. I'm going to get all green lights. Well, that's a great thought. You know, why wouldn't I get all these green lights? You know, if I'm in alignment, sure, nature's going to support me. I'm always going to sail through. Well, maybe a red light at this stop sign or this stop place prevents you from getting to the next intersection just as this huge garbage truck or dump truck comes barreling through his red light into the middle of the intersection, prevents you from having a serious accident and getting killed. Sometimes red lights are, that's being in alignment too. So you can't always assume I'm not God. We're not God. We can't see the entire universe and all the interactions that there are. We sometimes have to trust in the divine to carry out things for us. That's why this is so important, because we follow the program, we play the audios in the background, we participate in the program as it's designed, and nature, the divine, orchestrates everything for us behind the scenes, whatever that means. And it may mean sometimes you get a red light. It may mean you get a lot of green lights. Sometimes you end up someplace late, because being late means you run into someone who you need to talk to. And if you'd been there 5 minutes earlier, you would have missed them.
You know, and it was funny. I have a perfect example. Just a few weeks ago, I was at that conference where Rick was at as well, the podcasting conference. And when I had tried to book to leave the following day after the conference on a Thursday, and you know, and I tested, everyone said like, yeah, leave on the Thursday. So great. So I go to book the flight, and 5 times in a row, that button selected leave on Wednesday 5 times in a row. And I was like, I'm doing it wrong. You know, like after the 4th time, I said, I'm doing it wrong. I better press that freaking Thursday button. And I pressed the Thursday button and Wednesday would open up. So I said, I'm flying out on Wednesday. And thank God I did, because in that little space of time, the world went to hell. The U.S. economy went to hell. Trump had imposed all of the travel sanctions. And even though it wasn't mandatory for me in that time, I was on the plane for 18 hours to do quarantine. I chose myself to do my own quarantine just in case, since I had been around hundreds of people at the conference. And but it was just sheer chaos between the time I left and the time I arrived. And had I chosen to leave another day later, I'm not sure if I would have been able to make it back in time. And here in Tassie right now, they've restricted all arrivals from everyone other than residents. And residents are now being driven from their hotel, from their airport landing, whether residents or not, directly to a hotel for isolation for 2 weeks. Or they come off the boat with their car, they're being mandatory self-quarantining with police presence. That's all I'm going to say. I was lucky that I could self-quarantine at home.
You weren't lucky. You weren't lucky. You were in alignment.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why that button kept
exactly
Wednesday.
And I really felt uncomfortable telling people like I'm leaving early, because I really didn't want to leave early. It was a great conference, but it was like
you were being supported.
I've been told to leave.
You were being supported by
the
divine, and your it's automatic. It happens. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good example.
Yeah.
And life could be like that all the time. So everyone has an experience like this sometimes.
Yeah.
We also have experiences where we get to the place and everything goes to hell in a handbasket too. But how many people have an experience like you had, getting out on time, or like I've had with the restaurant or whatever? How many of us have that experience all day long, every minute of every day, feeling that we're supported by nature and that we are in a flow that's protecting us and carrying us forward? That's what being in alignment is all about.
No, it's amazing. So I'm actually doing this program. It's been financially very beneficial to me. I've gotten a bunch of new customers, high-paying customers, and I encourage everyone to at least listen to the free version and play that in the background and see what you think. Take a look at this. But I've got some quick questions for you, Rick. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. So what's the greatest spiritual lesson in all of this for you?
Trust and faith. That carries us forward to everything.
What is consciousness?
That's a hard one. Consciousness is everything. Everything is consciousness. Consciousness is infinite, unbounded, God, everything is made of consciousness. Everything comes from consciousness, returns to consciousness. You can call it what you want to call it. It's everything.
What is your definition of God?
Love.
Nice.
I had an
Where do
experience.
you, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Can I describe a brief experience?
Yep.
I was on a plane coming back from a course and I fell asleep. And as I woke up, I passed through this just something brighter than I've ever experienced, golden light. And as I came through that, I was watching myself wake up from sleep. I felt filled with this just incredible unconditional love for everything and everyone. And everybody I looked at on the plane, as soon as my attention went to them, they turned around and looked back at me with that same love was reflected in their eyes, as though I'd known them forever and I knew everything about them and it didn't matter. I loved them in spite of it. And to me, that experience is what it's like to live in the light of God every day. And that's what things like that drive me forward.
Nice.
And that's
nice.
something everybody should, that's how all of us are supposed to live. I believe that truly.
What is your definition of God, Rick?
Just that love, pure love, unconditional love.
Yeah. Where do you feel most at peace with yourself?
Trusting that the sense of trust that I am doing the right thing, that I am in flow, the right flow of, that I'm fulfilling my purpose and that everything's going to work out.
And what does your spiritual practice look like on a daily basis?
Not at all structured. I envy people who get up and have their 3-hour routine in the morning. I meditate twice a day, every day, without fail, morning and evening. After that, pretty much anything goes. Sometimes I'll read scriptures. Sometimes I'll watch the news. Sometimes I always eat, a couple meals, 2-3 meals a day. I'm pretty regular with that. I walk a couple times a day, but in no particular structure because I tend to follow my intuition as terms of what I think I should be doing at any given time.
Nice.
It's hard to describe that. I wish I could be more structured, but unfortunately.
No, but so you're already doing your same. So how many years do you think you've been doing your 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening of meditation?
45.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started in 73. Yeah.
So Rick,
it's a minimal, it's a certain amount of structure, but it's not like, I have this routine 3-hour routine I go through every day.
Yeah,
it's not like that. So that's it.
So Rick, what do you think happens when we die?
I haven't been there yet. So this is somewhat conjecture based on what I've learned and what I believe. I believe that we don't die. Our spirit doesn't die. The body goes away, just like when our clothes get old and ragged, we take them off and we throw them away and we get a new set of clothes. And I believe that we are in a process of growth. We come from God and we have to return to God. And I think that the process of returning takes us through many lifetimes until we learn to direct our attention back to our source. Yogananda has a really interesting description in his little book, How to Pray to God, How to Talk to God. He says that, in essence, this is kind of what he's saying. We have free will. We have the free will to turn away from God or to turn towards God. God depends on us. He gives us that free will, knowing that we may turn away from him. And many people do. And when we turn back towards God, that's what enlivens God, and he rejoices when that happens. And I think for many of us, it takes many lifetimes for us to get to that point where we realize that's our purpose and that's our goal, and that we should help other people do the same thing. I think that eventually we all can get to a point where we don't have to take a new body, where we just become eternal. That's what enlightenment's all about. And that's what we should all be looking for. Is living
Nice.
life in fullness of unboundedness and oneness with God. I think that's what an awesome way to live.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rick, I've got some, if you could just finish these quick sentences.
Sure.
The world needs
More love, more patience.
which one?
Both. Love, more love. Love brings
There you
patience. More love.
go. I believe in
Faith.
love is
Awesome.
I would like to thank
Everyone that I've ever met, because each person has taught me something.
nice. I am ready to forgive
Anyone for anything. I don't have much to forgive because I don't feel like anybody's really done anything bad to me. Everything's been helpful.
yeah. I want my legacy to be
That I was a nice person and I helped people become better people.
nice. So tell us again, Rick, that free streaming program that you mentioned about the Forever and Flow. What's
Yeah,
that? What's that link for the audience?
The link for the audience will be https://foreverinflow.com/align.
Perfect. And how can people reach you directly if someone wanted to reach you, Rick?
Forever/alignment. Alignment.
Alignment. Okay. It'll be in the show notes for everybody,
Okay.
and it'll be down below in the, just click through that from there. And how can people reach you directly if they wanted to reach out for you, Rick?
Coaching@rickgault.com.
And how do you spell your name?
RICKGAULT.
Perfect. Right, like a Gaulois, a true Gaulois.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure it's got to be linked, isn't it?
Yeah, what's Gaulois is where? From where?
France.
Yeah, I have
Asterix. Yeah.
one side of my
The
family
road.
comes from Alsace, France and
Oh, there you
Germany.
go. Yeah. I'm not sure how far the goal extended at that time, but I'll have to do some research on that. But that'll be fun. Anyway, thank you, Rich, so much for coming
Thank you
on.
very
And I
much.
really enjoyed meeting you live in person and looking forward to continue to work together.
Yes, me too. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for this
All right.
opportunity
Thank
too.
you. Yeah, great.
Bye-bye.